Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Comics Experience Graphic Novel of the Month Club, Comics Masterpiece Edition for the month of August. Before I start the show today, just a little editorial note. Probably some people are aware I had a heart attack 10 days ago. I'm feeling much better. I'm still very weak, but I love talking about comics so much, and it energizes me, and it is the thing that is just the light of my life. And so I decided that I still wanted to do this, especially talking to our guest for this book. Our book this month is The Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1. And our guest is Brian Michael Bendis. Who's right there?
Hi.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Good. I'm so glad you're well. I'm so glad you're sitting there looking healthy. As we discussed, I know the feeling of going, what the hell was that?
Yeah. No, it's weird. Did you have any formal training in writing or in art?
I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art. Again, at 6 years old, I declared my path and then spent every waking moment I had either reading comics or making comics or taking life drawing classes or whatever I thought I was missing in my training. I went and just did my own study. And then I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art, which is a very fancy art school in Cleveland, but it's a fine art school, not an applied or graphic arts school. So they were not interested in what I was interested in at all. And it was funny because there was a few kids there that were very into comics. And you got to remember, this is like mid 80s. Watchmen, Dark Knight, Black Orchid, Mouse, American Splendor, like the most important things happening in art and graphic design in America were happening in comic books.
Yes.
To the point where I'm sure you remember the great graphic magazine, Print Magazine, actually did it was a quarterly magazine about what's important in art, and one issue was about comics.
Yeah.
And it was probably the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever experienced. I was able to also take the magazine into my studies at the Institute of Art and point to my teacher, who did not understand the difference between like Andy Capp and Dave McKeon,
Sure.
and say, look, this is how important comics are right now, and this is where we're headed. And then they just put me in the corner and to do independent study. I basically wouldn't stop whining.
Yeah.
About because I had a couple of semesters where I had to put my comic books away to work on my assignments.
Right.
And in my head, it felt like I could actually do the assignment as a comic book. I wanted to apply the teaching into what I wanted to do. And after a while, they just put me in the corner, let me make comics. And my first comic I published through Caliber was made in class. It was my junior thesis.
Nice.
I made my own anthology called Parts of a Whole. Do not go looking for it, and it's probably in your corner. God bless. And I did like as many different art styles as I could muster myself, as many different writing styles, and it was to prove my point that comics are all of these things. And also it was me saying, well, who am I in this? Like part of me was Frank Miller, and part of me was Howard Chaykin, and part of me was George Perez. And then there was a whole other part of me that was Mort Drucker. I was actually making a living as a character artist. Mm-hmm. So I was doing more characters during the day than anything else, and studying them all with equal passion and verve. So I did this anthology just to kind of figure out like who I was. So it took a few comic books actually to like figure out that film noir was where my brain was.
Sure. How did the teachers react to this junior thesis? Did you get a good grade?
25 years later, they gave me an honorary doctorate.
At the time, I didn't think that Ultimate Spider-Man was going to succeed. But the reason was because outreach only lasts for a certain amount of time, right? Like once you hit issue number 13, you're no longer new at that point, right? Because of the periodical nature of comics, it wasn't like stores were stocking 13 issues of a book on the stands, right? Like you stock 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And so I thought from that point of view, it wasn't going to work. To the point where I even wrote a big, long public message about how this isn't going to succeed. And, if it hits issue 100, I'll eat a bug. And eventually it hit
50.
issue.
I think it was 50. Was it 50?
No, I was 100. It was 100.
Okay.
It hit issue 100. And I'll eat a bug if it hits issue 100. And then Jordan's going to show the picture that I ate that bug. Because you did it. You proved me wrong for sure. You and Bill both proved me wrong. So hats off to you for that.
Well, to be fair to you though, you got to remember there was other elements in your head back then. Sure. I was not laser focused on what was going on in mainstream comics at the time that I joined. So I was vaguely unaware of what John Byrne's Chapter 1 was. Like I knew what it was, but I kind of was taking a John Byrne break at the time, and. So I didn't know that Marvel had on paper done this already, recently.
Sure.
So when we announced this idea, a lot of people, not just you, most of the industry. I remember there was some article on comic book resources where everybody was dumping on it from every walk of the industry. Everyone was shitting in our mouths except for Mark Millar, who I did not know. Never met the guy. He was the only one who goes, "Hey, it sounds like a great idea." But I remember it was the first time in my career that everyone was shitting on something without having seen even a drawing. They were just, the idea of it was no. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is a weird feeling. But I will say I had the tremendous experience, and it's very, very, very rare, of the book coming out and a lot of people about facing on when they saw our honesty, they apologized, and I was amazed by that, and then thought that would happen all the time. But no, that does not happen.
Is there a specific change to the origin or the character that you are the most proud of?
Yes, getting to know Uncle Ben. So in the original version, he shows up for a panel, rubs his hair, eats a flapjack, and then he's dead. And we only know how important he is to Peter from Peter's reaction, which would be a normal reaction. But I thought, what a grand opportunity to express what their family dynamic is really like, and really get to meet him and get to feel the loss when it happens. And we were getting to a point where, because I think he dies in issue 4 or 5, where people were like, oh, they're not going to kill Uncle Ben. I remember I was getting email like, oh, congratulations on not doing that. And they thought, oh, you're definitely going to kill Aunt May. That's what you're going to do. You're going to kill Aunt May. So we actually ended up, for some of the audience who's reading it, they've never read Spider-Man before, and it was all new to them. And there's some of the audience who's very, very immersed in Spider-Man, and we're very curious to see the choices we were going to make. And I remember even some people being very disappointed that we killed Uncle Ben, because they thought it was like the obvious choice. And I'm like, yeah, but no, that's not the obvious choice. It's the story of Spider-Man. There's no other truth. Like changing it just immediately changes the story. It's the story about him and his aunt. Oh, yeah. So spending time with them, and also aging down Aunt May, so she could have a life and be a vital part of it, was something I was very proud of. I didn't take it Marissa Tomei far enough, but I'm glad where we took it.
Yeah. I want to have you back at some point. We'll pick another of your books, and we'll pick this up where we left off. So I want to thank Brian Michael Bendis. The book this month was Ultimate Spider-Man: Power and Responsibility. If you're watching at home, this is our club. We do this every month. We pick great books. Next month, we're talking to Robert Kirkman for Walking Dead. And we've got a club that also is picking brand new books every month. We've got a kids club every month. And we'd love it if you, the audience who are watching this, would join and help support the store and help support our ability to bring the medium to you. I want to thank Brian. I want to thank Jordan for doing.
Can I thank?
Please.
So throughout this whole shitty pandemic, almost every hour there's been someone binging Ultimate Spider-Man or New Avengers, like just using the time to read and sharing that love. I didn't want it to be this way, but it's so heartwarming and that's why I'm a little less pessimistic. Is this constant flow of people sharing energy through story.
Yeah,
that's all it's about, and that's not going away. That's accentuating.
Yes.
That's more so. And I know when this is over, which is not going to be anytime soon, people will go back to the frolicking outside. But this time we're spending together through story has been amazing, and thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah, no, my absolute pleasure. So I was wrapping up my thank yous. Oh, I want to thank The Beat. Always got to thank The Beat for being our sponsor and sponsoring this. And I want to thank all of our members at home. Like PBS said, we couldn't do it without viewers like you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month with Robert Kirkman, or we'll see you next Wednesday with Adrian Tomine, who's here for Loneliness of the Long Distance Cartoonist.
I want
the Kids Club later in the month, which is the Nixie of Mill Pond. So it's a great month of books, and we'll see you, and thank you, and I wish I wasn't so tired from this heart attack.
No, you did great. It's enough of us. That's plenty. Enough.